it going, Knicks fans? Welcome back to Fireside Knicks with your boys, Alex and Dylan. Today we're talking about Obi Toppin, and as you can probably imagine, a lot of rumors, a lot of stuff coming out in the media, kind of discussing several impact players. I think Damian Lillard, a report just came out saying that he wants to be traded. So I feel like there's a report every day saying either or, but we'll find out kind of what the future holds for him. Now, there are some rumors regarding Zach LaVine, obviously Joel Embiid, some big guys, but we want to talk about one of our homegrown guys, Obi Toppin, kind of the role he has moving forward, if he has one, and what the Knicks should do with him. They run this interesting offense where it doesn't feel like it's a full transition offense. The pace sometimes tires them out. They don't have the proper players on the court at times, and Obi Toppin is just, he needs to be in transition, right? He needs to be crashing the boards. He needs to be on those dunks and electrifying the entire crowd and bringing the energy up. That's where he makes his impact. But as you saw during the postseason, he's not a great defender. He kind of looks like he's on skates sometimes. And as a shooter, he's a big hit or miss guy. Like, either he hits or he's airballing it. Like, he doesn't miss. Either he's missing by a little or a lot, or he's hitting it straight on. So I think Obi Toppin, his development needs more time. He's getting a little bit older. Of course, he was a little bit older as a rookie. So I'm definitely curious to hear your thoughts about Obi, what you think his role is, if you think he may be just better off as a trade piece, because it feels like either him or RJ Barrett will be involved in some sort of trade if they do go down that alley. But before we dive into the good stuff, how you do today, my friend?
Right, so I'm doing good first off. I was under the weather a few days, so I'm finally back now, feeling a little better. But anyways, let's get to Obi Toppin. So, yeah, of course, it's kind of was a bit of a surprise, really, that he was still on the team past the trade deadline. I think for both fans and Obi Toppin alike, it was a surprise. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, I personally think Obi Toppin's going to get traded. I honestly do. I could even see possibly a draft day trade. The draft is, tomorrow? So, Toppin possibly could get moved. Something I highlighted in an article I wrote for EmpireSportsMedia.com yesterday was that, the Indiana Pacers have a bunch of draft picks that they've been, looking to move. This year they have 5 draft picks. I think they actually had a trade with the Denver Nuggets this morning, but in this year's draft, the last time I looked at it, they had 5 total draft picks, including 3 first-rounders. Now, let's be honest here. They're not going to use all 3 first-rounders on drafted players, right? They're gonna probably move some of those. I would like to assume that, right? And Obi Toppin could be a solid fit in Indiana, honestly. So I think it could be a win-win for both sides if they were to possibly work a draft day trade of a couple draft picks with Indiana. For the Knicks' benefit, you're adding more draft capital to use in bigger splash trades. They've been trying to get that main superstar piece or that big ticket guy that a lot of draft assets are going to have to be used in such a trade like that. And also for Obi Toppin, just, it gives him more of an opportunity to develop as a player. I've seen a lot of Knicks fans on Twitter say, why are people saying Toppin can't develop here in New York? Why don't they just play him? He's not going to play over Julius Randle. It's that simple. And realistically, Julius Randle isn't going to go anywhere. That's just the truth. I mean, you could say all you want that you want Randle gone and Obi should start over him. That's fine. But if we're talking realistic here, Randle isn't going anywhere, and Toppin's going to still either be behind him in the bench or he's going to have to go elsewhere if he wants to get more minutes. It's as simple as that. And Indiana might be that place for him. Indiana needs some bigger forwards, some more athletic forwards, that especially in the power forward department. They need that, and I feel like him and Tyrese Halliburton could work well together. I feel like they would click instantly. Just for a basketball standpoint, I feel like it'll just be better for Obi Toppin's career if he moves somewhere else, especially a younger team such as Indiana or even OKC. Young unproven teams is Obi Toppin's place, really. It's not the New York Knicks. It's as simple as that. And I'm not saying that Obi's a bad player. It's just does he really fit on this Knicks team? Probably not. It's unfortunate that that's the case, but you have an two-time All-NBA player playing ahead of him. You're not going to bench a two-time All-NBA player for Obi Toppin. You're not going to do that, right? So with that being said, that's kind of just my starting point on it. What do you think about all that?
Look, the truth is that the Knicks get worse if they go Obi Toppin over Julius Randle. I think that's objectively true. He's never averaged more than 9 points per game in 2021, 7.4 points per game this last season. They only started in 5. Look, he's a defensive liability. His 3-point shooting, it did get a little bit better, but it's nothing to write home about. I'll say this. I did see a rumor that they would consider a Chris Duarte swap, but I would rather go draft picks because of what you said. You're going to go out and get a big name. You're going to need draft capital, and the Knicks don't have that much right now. They have a lot of future stuff. But I'll say this. What are your thoughts on maybe, okay, a little bit of a different kind of angle here. If you're going to go with a player like Zach LaVine, let's say the Knicks, like, we need that third sharpshooter that's going to pair with Randall, it's going to pair with Jalen Brunson. As you mentioned and kind of referenced, it is very unlikely that Julius Randle is off this team next season. And the primary reason is that Tom Thibodeau loves Julius Randle. Like, he loves him, has an affinity for him. I don't think that your head coach is going to start to get rid of his favorite players just because the fans or whoever thinks so. There's got to be a reason, and I think that right now there isn't enough of a reason. I think they're probably looking at this saying, we don't need to replace Julius Randle. We need to add a third star to this team. Like, that's where I think we kind of hit this R.J. Barrett, Obi Toppin trade scenario kind of sequence, because getting rid of Randle, like, you lose a pretty impactful player, a guy that plays a lot of minutes, a guy that's, brings that intensity, that physicality that the Knicks like, that Tom Thibodeau likes. Now, does he disappear at times? Does he, sometimes just kind of make weird decisions? And you're like, okay, like, why are you doing that? Like, absolutely. He is a really strange player that, like, kind of flops in weird situations, but other times he's clutch and he makes good plays, and you're like, okay, like, you can't really trust him in that way. But now you have the guy like Jalen Brunson who you can trust in those clutch moments, and you can take the ball out of Julius Randle's hands because of that, right? If you have a Zach LaVine mixed in with a Brunson, mixed in with a Randle, you can't double Jalen Brunson, right? Like, in the playoffs, or the Miami Heat, you're not doubling Jalen Brunson. He's going to kick it out of Zach LaVine, who's hitting 38% of his three-point shots, and you're going to get eaten alive. You know what I mean? Like, that's the truth. You want to spread the floor. You want to go get a sharpshooter. I'm not saying Zach LaVine's the end-all, be-all, but maybe, like, if you want to go with, like, a more low-key guy, like a cheaper option in free agency, Dante DiVincenzo, who's going to, like, opt out of his deal. That's a player I would love to have on the Knicks, because he's another Villanova guy, along with Brunson and Josh Hart. So, it's really about just getting a high-quality shooter, in my opinion. Obi Toppin's not a high-quality shooter, right? He is a transition dunker, athletic freak. He's a great dude. Love Obi. Love him as a person. He's such a good culture fit. I wish that he fit this offense the way we needed him to. I wish that he was an elite defender and we could justify it. But the truth is, he's just not there yet in his development, and I don't think he's the right fit for us because of the way that we play. He needs to have free roam. Like, Obi needs to be free. And instead, like, the Knicks have specific plays and they run through specific players, and Obi's just, like, kind of standing in the corner half the time, like, not doing anything. He needs to be crashing the bucket. He needs to be crashing, using that athleticism to his advantage, and the Knicks just don't run enough plays through Obi Toppin. Like, he's not a focal point. He is a complementary piece, and if your complementary pieces can't shoot, then you're kind of screwed in that regard, especially if they can't play defense. Like, Quentin Grimes, in my opinion, is a tremendous complementary piece, and I think that he's a player I would love to keep if we can. But I think Obi Toppin probably is one of those guys that is at the top of the trade list if there is one. And I think that R.J. Barrett might be up there too, because they wanted him to become that third star, and he hasn't. So I'll ask you this, Dylan. If you had to choose between Obi or RJ, trading one of those two, of course, Obi's a lot cheaper and RJ's a lot more expensive, since he did sign that max extension deal. Who are you electing to trade? Because, like, which player really has more value? Probably RJ, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Right, so, the first player that I'd probably trade, it would probably be Obi, simply because you can find an easier trade with Obi. With RJ, you probably have to include it in a bigger package for, like, a huge big piece of, like, a superstar player, such as, like, a Zach LaVine, for example. If they went ahead and got Zach LaVine, you probably have to include RJ in the trade and a couple first-round picks, at least. With the way the market is these days, the market's very demanding. They demand a lot of assets of not only just young, established talent, but also draft capital and all that other stuff. Look at the Rudy Gobert trade. That trade messed up the entire market. Ever since that trade happened, the demand for picks and for younger assets has skyrocketed. Before, it used to be you could probably get away with, maybe giving up one young piece and one or two draft picks. No, now if you want to get a star player or, like, a proven, established, like, elite level player, or close to all-star level player, you probably have to fork away at least 3 picks. It's probably at least the bare minimum right there. And, while that may be, like, unfortunate, the Knicks do have future draft capital to where they can use that, for leverage. They can go after, like, a Zach LaVine, or even like an OG Anunoby. I'm still an OG Anunoby guy, and I personally think he would be a solid fit on the Knicks. I like his 3-and-D game and stuff like that, and I think he would fit perfectly in the wing spot. I even like trades like that. You can use the draft capital for it. I know some Knicks fans were like, oh, don't go after OG Anunoby. He's too expensive. This that. Oh, he's gonna cost 3 draft picks. This that. That's just the way the market is these days, man. Because if you want to go get like I don't know, a Joel Embiid or a Zach LaVine, or if you're a cat guy, I'm not a cat guy, but if you want to go get cat, that's gonna cost a lot more. It's gonna cost a lot more. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. But with that being said, I do agree with your point about like the Knicks need to get like just a reliable shooter. I mean, look at their biggest flaws in the postseason. They couldn't shoot. They couldn't shoot. It's as simple as that. I don't even need to like dive in too deep into it. Flat out, they couldn't shoot. The numbers will just tell you that right there. You don't even need to watch the film to see that they couldn't shoot. No, they just couldn't hit it anything. Couldn't find a bucket whatsoever, right? So that's what they need to improve on this offseason. It's pretty clear that that's what they need to improve on. They can't go after... If you want to go after, like, a backup power forward or something like that, like I saw they were interested in Nas Reed, too, that would be a solid fit. That would be a solid fit, too. But that also might require moving Obi Toppin. And quite frankly, we've tried to make Obi Toppin a spot-up shooter. It hasn't worked. It hasn't. He's had some games where he's hit a few threes or he's hit multiple threes, and Knicks fans are like, oh, yeah, he's cool. He can shoot threes now. It's that. If we're really looking at the grand scheme of things, though, he's been very inefficient from outside his entire career. Very inefficient. Yes, as a starter, he's shown flashes. I'm not going to sit here and not acknowledge that. He has shown potential of what he can be as a starter. But if Toppin's playing behind Julius Randle, a 2-time All-NBA player, a guy that can score at all 3 levels, a guy that rebounds well, a guy that passes well, and just a pure scorer, more of a hustle defender than Toppin as well. I know Randle's not a great defender. I'm not saying he is, but, you would at least trust him a little more on that side because he brings physicality compared to Toppin, who at times looks like a cone on defense, just being honest. And yes, I know Randle's had his moments too, but just looking at the grand scheme of things here, it's pretty clear that, Randle is like the main guy going forward. It's just, that's the case, And I'm not saying Randle's going to be the number 1 option on the Knicks, next season. No, it's clearly Jalen Brunson's team now, but I don't think the issue should be, let's replace Julius Randle. No, I think we need to focus more on who's going to replace, Obi Toppin, which of course will probably just be like a different backup forward, but someone that'll actually fit well and actually play a good role for the Knicks. And the RJ Barrett stuff too. RJ did good in the playoffs, yes, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, he had a pretty rough season overall, and it does make you wonder if he's really going to become like that guy. We've mentioned it before in previous pods, but we're in year 5 now for RJ. We're about to enter that, and we're still kind of trying to wait and see if he's going to be like that guy that's going to be like, the main guy on the Knicks, the number 1 option, the superstar player we were all hoping for him to be, and he hasn't really become that yet. It's unfortunate that's the case, and I'm not saying RJ Barrett is a bad NBA player. No, he's not. He's a very good NBA player for his age, but at the same time, it is year 5 now, and now that the Knicks are competing, we're kind of past that whole development stage, that whole draft pick stage, the lottery guy stage. Let's see them develop. We're past that now at this point. At this point, you have to make win-now moves. You got to make moves that are going to make you compete in the East and make you compete for a finals appearance and all that stuff. You got to do that. You can't waste no time. You got to take advantage of that right now, especially since you got Jalen Brunson at his prime and Julius Randle at his prime. You got these 2 guys at their prime. You got to take advantage of that right now and build around these guys and make a win-now roster, a team that's going to, go to the championship or at least fight for it. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee that they're going to win a championship in Jalen Brunson's tenure as a Knick. No, I'm not saying that. But, with how much we've seen, how much, Brunson and Randle can do together, you got to take advantage of that, and you got to make the moves necessary for it. That's kind of all I got to say about it. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, look, the truth is that the Knicks have about 3 to 4 year window. That's kind of what you mentioned. They have a window here to win a championship. And if they don't exercise that, if they don't take advantage of that, we're going to be pissed. I'm going to be pissed because we have been waiting for this opportunity for a long time to have a couple star players, one of them being close to superstar status in Jalen Brunson, who literally put up 40 points against the Heat with 1 ankle. You know what I mean? We haven't had a player like this in a decade, since Melo in his prime. We need to take advantage of this right now. This is the time. If the Knicks front office flops and doesn't do what needs to be done, I'm going to be really freaking mad. And the truth is that RJ Barrett's gotten worse over the last couple of years. We talk about his development. He was really good a couple of years ago when he hit 40% from three-point range, but it's gotten worse since then. His defense has gotten worse since then. His field goal percentage have gotten worse since then. That is an indication that we are hoping for a prayer right now. I love RJ Barrett. He's a great dude. He's got so much potential that he hasn't tapped into just yet. But are we really going to sit here and hope to the graces of the basketball gods that RJ Barrett is going to emerge as a 3rd star that's going to be better than than Julius Randle, because that's the player that we need. We need a player that's equivalent, if not better than Julius Randle to win a championship. You want to go beat the Suns? Go try beating Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. It's not going to happen with Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. Guys, like, it's not going to happen. We need another star. It's got to be Zach LaVine. It's got to be Damian Lillard. It's got to be an elite scorer, someone who can shoot, someone who can spread this offense, because right now it's not looking like the case. So if RJ Barrett's on the table and there's a superstar player that we can go and get, I'm pulling the trigger, man, because I want to win, and I'm not willing to wait and risk it all on RJ Barrett's development, despite the fact that I love the guy 100%, and I wished, and I hoped, and I prayed, and I know all you guys are the same thing, put your spoon under your pillow every single night, that RJ Barrett was going to emerge as this superstar, as this star, and lead the Knicks team and become a complement to Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, but it hasn't happened yet. And are we really going to bank and waste away this window, hoping to God it does? Personally, I can't sit here and buy it, man. I'm not going to buy that. But at the end of the day, it's not my decision, and we'll see what happens. Because if they keep RJ and he comes off the bench and he becomes kind of that sixth man, and they bring in Zach LaVine and they can keep RJ Barrett, I think that's even better, because RJ can be a phenomenal role player. He could be a phenomenal guy off the bench to lead that second team, and that personally would be my preference. But I think that there is ways to keep him on this roster. There are ways to make sure that he stays a Knick, but he obviously is going to be the focal point of a trade if it comes down to that. But guys, I'd love to hear your perspectives below in the YouTube comments as always. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, my friends. Let's go Knicks. We got a big offseason ahead of us, a lot of news to come out, and you can stop by here anytime to get the latest and the greatest. So appreciate you all. Catch you guys on the next Fireside Knicks episode.